Hello and welcome back to AWS Security Live. We are live here in London, so that's doubly live at the AWS Partner Conference. So my name's Rob Hale. You may know me already, but I lead AWS's security strategy for partners across EMEA. So I glue together our partner community together with AWS solutions to solve for customer security challenges. As ever, I am joined by an amazing co-host. So for this session, and for a while afterwards, we have Louise.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Louise. I am a senior security specialist solution architect, bit of a mouthful. I've been with AWS for 9 years and started in the Dublin office and then moved to the Amsterdam office. So I help customers with any security questions across EMEA, anything related to security, compliance, identity, cloud architectures. So yeah, very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Ooh.
And today we have James.
Hey guys,
Okay.
yeah, great to be here
Yeah.
in sunny London, which is very unusual.
It is
but
sunny. Yeah,
I'll take it.
Touch
take it.
wood effects desk.
No, great to be here, guys. And by way of introduction for everybody who's listening, and thanks for tuning in, by the way. My name's James Campbell. I'm the SVP of Cloud Strategy at Darktrace. Should I give you a little bit of background on myself?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
useful?
we'd love that, yeah.
So
Security for a start.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so how did I get into security? So I'm actually incident response, kind of digital forensics nut or nerd. Nerds are cool now, I think. I can say that.
Nerds have always been cool.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's what I say. But my career started kind of 18, 19 odd years ago, working in intelligence, actually, running the incident response for national government back in Australia. And then I moved over to the UK about 10 years ago to run incident response for PwC. So really helping a lot of customers out in their time of need when they were compromised, whether that was kind of on physical computers or in cloud. So lots of stories there, from cybercrime to espionage. So it's been a pretty exciting career, I have to say. And then I funneled kind of all that knowledge and all those kind of pain points of my customers into actually founding a company called AWS Security, a cloud security company, which was acquired by Darktrace about a year ago. And the whole team's now in Darktrace. We absolutely love Darktrace. For those that don't know Darktrace, Darktrace is a leader in AI cybersecurity, helping 10,000 plus customers across the world, kind of tackling cybersecurity issues in email, network, cloud, and even securing AI itself.
Wow, awesome. So incident response, intelligence, AI.
A lot of areas.
Found out all. So if you're listening and you want to find out more, do send us a comment, ask questions. We'll happily discuss. We are live, so and
Sure are.
Yeah, we're now midday. So hey, good morning to all our US viewers. So feel free to ask questions. So let's talk about kind of cloud detection and response, and how is that different to a traditional on-prem or maybe a virtual infrastructure?
Look, it's definitely a big question, but I'll try and kind of distill it down a little bit. So, a big part of my career is actually, an interesting part of my career, I should say, is just seeing the shift to cloud. So the number of organizations adopting cloud technologies, and also the cool technologies that cloud has enabled as well. So, scalability, AI now as well, particularly, and being able to scale your business very easily. And what's interesting is that a lot of people kind of still treat it as if it's on-premise, and it certainly doesn't operate like that at all. And so it creates a new, unique challenge. And, a lot of times when we were doing incident response in the cloud, a customer would say, hey, I think there's something suspicious happening here on this virtual machine server. Can you help me out? And then sometimes we would go to actually investigate and actually grab all the data, which usually in itself takes a little while to do. You have to kind of work out where that data is, who has access, and it can be quite complicated, to be honest, even for someone technical. And so, once we reach that point, sometimes that system actually disappears because it's either part of an auto-scaling group or part of an ephemeral infrastructure. So for those that don't know, ephemeral infrastructure is kind of short-lived services in the cloud where they spin up and they do a task and then they spin back down and the data just disappears. It vanishes after that because you no longer need it. It's a great way of saving money in the cloud, and you definitely need to embrace it. But it brings a new challenge to the cloud where that data kind of being recycled and disappearing regularly. If you have a detection and you need to go actually investigate and visit that with a laptop, kind of a laptop is physical, right? Unless you throw it in the sea, you could probably still go and get the data at some point. But with ephemeral infrastructure, with how cloud works, sometimes that data disappears, and so you're in a point of detecting something but having no means to actually dive deep and investigate. So that's quite interesting, kind of, or at least an interesting aspect from that perspective.
I guess that kind of points to the need to make sure you've got logging services and observability services like CloudTrail, like
Absolutely.
to make sure that you're monitoring what's going on within your environment, and you have visibility of that across all your environments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the other interesting point, and you kind of just touched on it there with that kind of observability piece, is there's another layer to cloud, isn't there? So you've got the control plane layer. So not just the runtime layer. This is where all your compute is running and all your kind of programs are running, right? The runtime. You've also got the network, which is what we're traditional known in kind of on-premise world, but you also have what's called the control plane layer, where actually you can kind of control systems spinning up and down. You can create new services, you can create new systems, and you can create new data points as well. And this is like the equivalent of being in an actual physical data center and actually racking and stacking servers and turning them on and turning them off. But this time it's kind of in a console, in the case of AWS, in an AWS console, where you can kind of control all that infrastructure. So really important to have visibility of that as well in how people interact with that, because also attackers can interact with that as well,
right.
And potentially modify your infrastructure for nefarious means.
You mentioned you've been working in incident response. Did you say 18 years?
Yes, it's a long time.
Okay, I'd love to ask.
I'm actually 21. It's just, it's been a hard life. It's been a hard life.
But no, I was going to ask, all right, can you compare the difference 18 years ago when you started in incident response and now working at Darktrace?
Darktrace, yep.
So sorry. The difference in incident response, right? Because you guys are in AI for quite a long time as well. I think the longest?
Yeah, that's right.
Years,
yeah. Darktrace was in AI before AI was even cool, if I have to say. So Darktrace has been around for more than a decade. It's got some really smart people in Cambridge that have been using machine learning and AI techniques for a lot longer than I've been playing with it, to be honest, and a lot longer before it became kind of a big buzzword now, obviously. And so Darktrace itself, is really unique in the way of using layered AI and machine learning techniques to understand a customer's own environment. So what's normal for that customer's environment. So this is really important to find kind of novel or unknown threats, right? Because it's kind of, hey, this is the first time, let me give you a practical example. This is the first time user Bob logged into their system, and you know what? User Bob also transferred loads of data out. Now, user Bob didn't use any malicious tools whatsoever. But you know what? That kind of chain of activity is suspicious because we've never seen that before. And we can flag that and kind of bring that to bear. Now, that's really important. And I'll get onto kind of the incident response point. This kind of leads on to that, I guess, is with the rise of kind of the potential for AI threats or agentic threats as well, where agents are going off and doing whatever they're going to be doing, whether that's for malicious means or accidentally could be going off and doing something in your network, right? We're going to be seeing a future where a lot of the targeted threats are kind of unknown. So they're going to be new, they're going to be novel, and so you need a different approach. Rather than trying to find what the knowns are, kind of those signature-based sorts of detections, you need AI to kind of fight AI in a way, and you need AI to understand what's normal for your business from a detection perspective, which is what we do in our Darktrace Cloud product. Is we define what's normal for your environment, and then once we see something abnormal, we can shut it down at machine speed. Now that's the other important thing, and kind of coming on to the incident response point is like one thing that's changed drastically with incident response, or the need for incident response is just the speed of everything. So going back and showing my age a little bit, 18 years ago, and doing incident response, right, there was physical laptops, physical servers, and you had a little bit of time to kind of, go and investigate and work out what was going on. But when it comes to the likes of cloud, and now particularly with AI in the picture as well, things are moving at machine speed, right? So I don't have the time to necessarily work out where my data is, or how do I get access to this system, or what's going on over here or over there. I want to kind of be able to I should be able to just press a button, right, and be able to have that data right in front of me in that instant so I can respond immediately. And that autonomous kind of motion or that autonomous response is going to be super important with how fast things move now, particularly with cloud.
Let's double click on that a little bit.
Yeah.
If you think about all the things that happen within a cloud environment, you've got ephemeral services which are launching, disappearing. You've got huge amounts of security data that's going on. So how do you, let's say you've identified a finding. How do you actually go about investigating that? Where do you start? And what are the kind of the challenges and best practice along the way?
This is where preparation is key, right? So, being ready, so on detection, to automatically determine where that system is and go and collect that forensic data, kind of that forensic level data, and then bring that into, a meaningful investigation in kind of plain English and plain language, so you can quite quickly understand what's happening off the back of that detection or that suspicious activity. It doesn't even have to be detection. I might just be like, hey, something weird's going on over here. I need to go kind of double click on that and dive in and see what's going on. I should be able to do that really quickly. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, because one of the cool things about cloud is that, which is very different to on-premise, which is something that has changed in my career, is that cloud allows for this automation. So cloud is really good at automation, and wrapping that with some really smart AI detection as well. Being able to detect novel threats and then automatically being in a position to go and collect more context and more data, and then having that data ready for your analysts, like right in front of them, right then and there in real time. Like, that's going to be super important going forward to kind of really tackle the kind of next generation of threats that are coming down the wire right now.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And we see a lot of, actually, particularly in Europe as well, there's quite a lot of focus around ransomware, and that's something that has a really big impact on business operations. And so everything is real time when you're combating that situation. So how do you see customers using automation to help one detect, but also then respond and recover to something like a ransomware attack?
Yeah, so ransomware is a real interesting kind of example, because ransomware operators really try and understand your network, and they try and make maximum impact. And they also use automation as well to spread the ransomware throughout the network, which is why you have to move at machine speed, right? So you have to move quickly in order to stop. And so Darktrace did an example of this with the NHS a little while ago. People might remember WannaCry made the news, kind of a big deal. It moved quick, like within minutes, it would go and destroy your network. Now, that autonomous response side of things is just so important, and that's a good glimpse of the future when it comes to AI threats and what's coming down the wire. Is the fact that those threats move so quick, you do need autonomous response in place. So you want, basically, so as an example with Darktrace Cloud, once it detects a threat, it can buy you the time and actually block that specific threat without disrupting the wider business. It can block that specific user, Bob, from logging onto the machine, as the example I used before, and then buy you time to actually catch up and work out what's going on and then shut it down properly.
Louise, you're working with customers, you're building architectures. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing customers doing in terms of building that automation into those architectures?
I think the new security best practice is just automate as much as you can. When it comes to agentic AI, I guess having a human in the loop, would you say, is still very important? Or based on what you said earlier, do you feel like AI is the only way to combat AI attacks? What do you think?
Oh, it's a tough one, because a lot of people are very hesitant to not have humans in the loop, and I say it's a balanced risk approach, right? So if you can have a very targeted way of isolating an attack on a particular system which might not disrupt the broader business, then hey, you should be going for it. That should be automated. But of course, if it's like your crown jewel system, and I don't know, maybe you need a moment just to double check and validate what's going on, then yeah, sure, put the human in the loop. But I won't lie, I think we're moving down the path of needing it to be fully autonomous. Yeah. And I think this is where it needs to be a business conversation with leadership and boards to say, hey, are we willing to accept some level of downtime in order to make sure we're secure and operate the best to our ability when it comes to these new threats that are coming.
Yeah, I think that's... Sorry, go on.
Oh, so I was going to say, you talk a lot about self-learning AI. Maybe just for the audience here that hasn't heard that term before, what is self-learning AI?
Yeah, so one of the unique things in Darktrace's approach, and again, we've been doing this for more than a decade, it's learning about what's normal for you. So what's normal for your computer, or what's normal for your network that you operate on, or your organization. Does that person email you regularly or not? And there's a combination of these things of what's normal. And that's really important, because that's what helps understand, you as a individual, and not just individual people, but individual machines as well, and individual AI agents that you might be using, and what's normal for their operation, right? So as an example, it might not be a person as an identity, it could be an AI agent as an identity, or a machine as an identity. What's normal for them in operating in your environment day to day? Now this learning AI learns what's normal, learns what's usual for you, and so it can make some very precise decisions on what's suspicious and how to block it, but at machine speed in real time.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we've spoken quite a lot about things like threat detection and incident response, and how are you looking at actually securing AI environments? So what's your customers be looking at in terms of if they're deploying agents, for example, within their employees, or large language models? What are the things that you guys are doing, and also you're seeing customers do well?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So as you guys would know better than any at AWS, cloud and AI kind of go together, really. Like, there's lots of AI services, lots of people utilizing AI compute in the cloud as well, and so lots of kind of the usage of it involves cloud, and they're kind of linked in a way, day to day. But more specifically, I kind of see Darktrace is really looking at a few different novel approaches. So obviously, we have this great novel way of using AI and applying detections. Now, we can do this across your usage of AI and what's normal, again, for your environment. So that might be, how your business is communicating through chatbots or prompts, and whether that would be third party or one of the mainstream providers, and work out user Bob. Are they using the chat prompts to get data that they probably shouldn't have access to? Is that giving them privileged information, and what are they doing with that? So kind of keeping an eye on the kind of general usage of AI. And then we've got your usage of your own AI as well. So how do we protect your AI agents? How do we protect your models and everything that goes around to building and protecting those and running them day to day? So that's really important as well. And then lastly, it's kind of like rogue AI usage. So like everybody wants to use it, right? Like it's I've got 3 AI apps on my phone.
Yep.
I've got
only 3.
yeah, right. Well, there's probably some I don't even know about. They're using AI behind the scenes, that's for sure. So, and I use AI at home as well for like my own personal projects, and I have a lot of fun kind of tinkering, which is cool. And it's the nerd side coming out in me. But what's interesting is that obviously that just everybody wants to use it, and so there probably is going to be some unsanctioned usage of AI across your network. That you might not necessarily be aware of, or there might be third-party applications which are using AI which they didn't tell you about, and are backhauling your data externally to your organization. And so we want to make sure we've got complete visibility, both with kind of network on-premise, through email, through cloud, of your whole environment, and just see who's using it, is it sanctioned, is it allowed, is it being used in the most appropriate way, and when, without self-learning AI, when does that go off-piece, and how do we raise that flag?
AI off-piece, I like that phrase.
AI
That's
off-piece,
cool.
yeah, when it goes rogue.
When it goes rogue. Kind of analogy.
I feel like this is a great gateway into, we have is it a product teaser? In a Security Live, you heard it here first, you have a new product coming out in June.
We do.
Are you able to tell us anything about that?
Yeah. So this is our secure AI product, which basically fundamentally, tackles those risks which I just mentioned. I really encourage you to check out darktrace.com, and there's definitely some more information on there. And we've got the release pending any moment. We've got customers running and trialing it now, which is awesome to see. Everybody's super excited by it. But I think our customers are looking for solutions to help make this new chapter easy for them, and help them feel like they're keeping on top of it, especially with Mythos and everything coming out now. People are really worried about it. And you know what? You can't go and patch all the things. You really need to be prepared for those kind of novel detections, those novel threats, which are coming down the wire.
Amazing. So we've covered incident response, we've covered cloud scale and automation, and enabling AI use in the organization. So if you want to find out more, there will be a QR code somewhere on screen soon. James, thank you very much. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.